Look good.
All right.
Hey everybody, I'm glad y'all came down to Chuck's. This is Chuck Peoples. He's the owner-operator of Homestead Medical. Chuck has got, there's like 18 pages of stuff on Chuck's resume. EMS, emergency responder, critical care paramedic, and firefighter over 28 years. There's literally 8 pages of stuff. So Chuck knows what he's talking about. Chuck has done classes at my place, shown us all kinds of amazing stuff. The people I was telling some of our group members, I'm like, Chuck is doing this class, it's this much money. They're like, really? And every one of them that came to the class grabbed me in the end and they're like, that class is so underrated or so undervalued. He's like, you could charge 3 times as more. They're like, we got our money's worth plus some. So Chuck has got the knowledge, the equipment. He's got all his stuff down at the booth that y'all can buy. I've got tons of Chuck stuff. That's where I buy all my medical supplies. Chuck's going to show you how to build any kind of bags that you need for your car, your house, tractors, anything like that. So here's Chuck Peoples, and I appreciate y'all being here.
All right. Right now, who's carrying medical on him of some sort, besides a Band-Aid? He's got a tourniquet. It's a simple thing. I carry one every day. Why is it so important to carry it on?
If you need it, you gotta have it.
When you need it, you gotta have it. Yeah. Do you know how long you have to have it, to put it on?
Seconds.
You'll bleed out in 3 minutes. It sounds like kind of a long time, right? You'll be unconscious in 90 seconds. You have 90 seconds to put that tourniquet on. So it's a mindset for medical. And for home medical, it's the same thing because it's not just leaving it at home. Murphy's Law is always with you. It doesn't matter where you are, you can get hurt. Everybody here probably has some sort of property, homesteads, things that you do on your own. You're making your life better, right? How many of you use a chainsaw by yourself on your property? Carry a tourniquet with you? In civilian world of EMS that I worked for 23 years, I put more tourniquets on people from home accidents than I ever did gunshot wounds. Now when I worked overseas, stuff like that, a little different story. But it's more of the home accidents that you're going to have. Do you think where you're at on your property, if you cut yourself with a chainsaw or anything else, that you could get back to where your medical gear is within 90 seconds? So home medical doesn't mean I'm going to keep it in the closet when I need it. Band-Aids, sure, you can do that. But it's a mindset. You should carry it with you at all times. Because there's things, medically wise, that things happen to you, accidents, like a penetrating chest wound. You have a sucking chest wound, you've probably heard that. 5 minutes or less, you're dead. Carry medical on you. It's this big. Everything that'll kill me within 5 minutes is in this little pouch. So there's no excuse that you can make for not carrying. There's no excuse. A tourniquet is small. It's $30. I hear people, oh, well, they're kind of expensive. How much is a funeral? How would it affect your life if you lost your arm? Could you still work, do your job, do everything you do right now? If you lost your leg? A lot of people can. I've seen them. I've seen guys come out in the battlefield, lose a leg, they go back, but that's after months and months of doing so. But are you prepared to do that? How much is it going to cost you? Or you want to spend 30 bucks. You may never use it. I hope you don't. That's great. So how many people actually have a pretty good medical supply at home? Okay, how many of you taken training? Real training. I don't mean first aid CPR. I mean everything that you own, you know how to use proficiently, and you can use it where it's muscle memory, not, oh, I took a class 7 years ago. How many can use it? Because when you need it, when you need this, where do you think your adrenaline's going to be? It's going to be way up here. lose all your fine motor skills when that happens. Can you do that in a panic situation? Just like the things that people, I believe you should be well armed. Carry a pistol, do all that, great. You know how many people carry a pistol every day and have never fired that weapon? It's idiotic. You can buy all the tools you want. You don't know how to use them, they're useless. So number one, the first thing you should have before you do any of this stuff, have the equipment, get it. Make sure you invest in yourself and for your loved ones, the training to use it, and competent training. Just because somebody says, I've got a class, doesn't mean they know how to do it. You know how many people teach how to use a tourniquet, have never placed a tourniquet on another human being for real? Majority of the people who teach how to put a tourniquet on, they've never used one. I know there's a couple of people in here who put one on, because I know they've done it. I have done it. It's completely different. So vet the people you take classes from. Vet the people you buy equipment from. Lots of places, it's almost overwhelming, isn't it, to go get medical. Everybody has it. Everybody, teaches the cool guy ninja stuff. Watch language for kids. Of all the cool, flashy stuff of tourniquets and all that tactical stuff, we've got our guns, we're shooting, we're putting tourniquets, we shoot, move, communicate, all that good stuff. You're probably not going to use it for that. You know what's going to get you? If there is some sort of societal collapse, and not even that. How many people live in areas where you're, prone to hurricanes, tornadoes? Everybody remember a little hurricane called Katrina? New Orleans, pretty big area, right? And all the parishes around it. Parishes are counties, by the way, in case you ever wondered. Louisiana wants to be different. You know how many hospitals were functioning in that area after that hurricane? 0. For 6 weeks. You know where the hospitals were? They're on the water, the U.S. Navy. Hospital ship Comfort, hospital ship Mercy. None of the hospitals were functioning. There was also another little, and I was there, I know, I was pulling people out of their attics in the 6th Ward while there's no water. There's also a little hurricane called Maria. Now, it was in Puerto Rico, but it wiped Puerto Rico out. You don't have to believe me, you can ask this guy right there, because we worked together down there. There was no power whatsoever, and there was no functioning hospital. That's why they sent us over. Well, so for the relief workers, the 6,000 power linemen, things like that came, that's why they're there. But it's mindset. You have to be prepared for what's going to happen. It's not the zombie apocalypse. It could be natural disasters. Anybody been to an ER in the last 4 years? Same type of service, same type of thing that you used to see? No. A lot of the stuff that you have to prepare for, you can get, a lot of people will buy tourniquets, will buy the IFAC and all that. You know what the little chance of you using that is, honestly? Should you have it? Yeah. Absolutely. What's going to get you is you're working your property. You've got that cut, you cut your hand on something, fencing, whatever, then you're going to go deal with the animals. What's one thing universal with any livestock that you deal with? Poop. Don't know if you know it or not, poop's dirty. You're going to get that in that cut, you're not going to take care of that cut properly, you're probably going to be I'm the cool guy thing, I'll just wrap electrical tape or duct tape around it, like all you contractors do. Where's Jason? Absolutely drives me crazy. By the way, people who've done it, just to let you know, more than once I've seen somebody's finger amputated because they put tape on it, left it a couple days, and next thing you know, it's gangrene, and you have to chop it off so it doesn't go through their body and kill them. All you contractors and cool guys out there, just keep that in mind. If you don't like your finger, wrap some duct tape around it. But it's that wound care, it's those things to take care of it. That's what's going to get you. It's going to be the infection. It's not the gunshot wound and all that stuff. You can play Call of Duty all you want. It's a video game for a reason. Unless you're going overseas doing that stuff, we're probably not going to see that type of thing here, but a societal collapse, I promise you, you're going to use medical before you probably ever have to use that firearm or any of the other stuff. Prep for it, Have it? Absolutely, 100%. But it's having this stuff. Now, where do you start? Mindset is one, to be overly prepared for everything. Have a complete encompassed kit. Number 2 is training. Number 3 is the equipment. Who do you get it from? What do you get? Well, yeah, I can get tourniquets for $10. Can't you? They look just like this. I can get them on Amazon. Made in China. Get them. I use those in my class. You know why I use them in class? Because they break. And we break 1, 2, 3 every single class I teach. Because they fall apart. These won't. Tourniquet I used yesterday in class is exactly this one. Orange and everything. I've had literally, it's been in service since 2022. I think November of 2022 I've used it as a training tourniquet. I'm using it this long because I want to see how long it'll go. Thousands of applications. It still works. Stretched out a little bit. You'll have to turn the windlass maybe 1 or 2 more times. Yeah. But it's still there. It works. So this is kind of one of those things, you get what you pay for. What else do you need? Do you need the trauma kit, the pressure dressing, the wound packing gauze, the chest seals? Yeah. So those are the things that'll kill you in 5 minutes or less. You need to be prepared for it. But you also need wound care. It's so underrated. How many people have taken a wound care class? That hasn't been mine. Not related to your work. See, one hand. There's not very many out there. That's why I started my company, because I saw a gap. What do you do after you stop the bleeding? Yeah, it's great because you're taught what in those classes? Oh, hospital, EMS is coming and stuff. Anybody had to call an ambulance in the last 2 years? So let me ask you a question, part of your preparedness. Your local EMS service, how long does it take them to get to your house, your property? Are they paid? Are they volunteer? And if they're not available, who's the next closest one coming? Does anybody know that?
I know it takes an hour for an ambulance to get to my house.
Some people it's going to take hours. You live in a rural area, it may be volunteer. Next town may be volunteer. They don't have anybody. Remember, volunteer, that's the key word. They volunteer to come out. You're not guaranteed to come out. And paid EMS, that's why I don't work public EMS anymore. I left in 2015, it was getting bad then. Because my education did not equate to my salary, and that's why a lot of people do it. I did it for 23 years. It's being prepared and knowing, and if you're not prepared for yourself, you're going to die. Does anybody know what's still the #1 cause of preventable cause of death? Meaning it can be prevented with the right training. Does anybody know what it is? Still to this day, today. Bleeding to death. Still, all this training we see, it's still that. Because people aren't prepared. You may take a class, you may have had a stop and bleed class, you may have this. How many people have a tourniquet still in the wrapper? Don't tell me because I won't like it. That's the absolute, and I'm not singling anybody out. Dumbest thing you can do. How long is it going to take you to get this out, get this tourniquet out, have it staged, put it on, and do all this? Get it out of the package. It's not sterile, folks. Let me explain something to you. Oh, I want it sterile. I don't want it to be dirty. You open your skin, guess what? Germs have already invaded. Because me as a provider and a long-term provider, any type of laceration you have, especially if I have to use a tourniquet on you, once I get you stabilized, guess what I'm doing? Sticking an IV in you, and I'm going to start giving you antibiotics. Because you're going to have germs already in there. Your skin is your protection. You open that skin up anywhere, germs get in it. So how do we take care of that stuff? What do we need? Believe it or not, I sell and know this is not a commercial for me. If you don't want to buy it from me, you don't like me, so that guy's a jerk. Come to me, I'll tell you who to go buy from. Who are vetted, good people who have good equipment. It's not junk. I'll tell you. And also the training. I don't like you, I don't want to train with you, fine. I'll tell you who to go train with. All of this is a whole that I sell is a whole encompassed kit. It's a 5-gallon tote. Seems like a lot. It's packed full. But how many of you know how to clean a wound? What do you do after you stop the bleed? It doesn't matter whether you've used a tourniquet or it's a good laceration and stuff. Now you've stopped it, you put a bandage on it of some sort. And it's probably going to be, when it happens, you're not going to have that stuff with you. It's going to be a dirty rag or something you're going to put on there. Guess what that dirty rag's going to do? Hello, infection. So how do we prevent that? How do we do those things? What do we need to have, and equipment-wise, to have that? You need something to clean the wound with. So what do you think you need to clean the wound with?
Water.
Yell it out, I can't. Saline, right? Got to have sterile, hospital-grade saline. That's what you have to have, right?
Water. Water.
How many people are on some sort of city water service? Here's what you can do. City water. Don't believe what I say. Look it up. Now, wait a minute. I just said that. That makes me a domestic terrorist, according to the FBI and Homeland Security. Look it up. Baltimore Shock Trauma has done a long-term study where they've done wound care, where they've used saline, betadine, all the special stuff, and then they've used treated tap water. No significant difference whatsoever. When I was overseas in different rural areas and stuff, we didn't have access maybe sometimes to saline or have all that. You know what we'd use? Bottled water, poke a hole in it. I didn't even put it in something special. Poke a small hole in it, squeeze that. That's how we irrigated wounds. I bet you've got bottled water, don't you? Don't use the flavored water, okay? Acidity's gonna, all right? And don't, you know, guys, I know you like to say, you know, that beer afterward, well, that's kind of like water. It's got water in it. No, we're not going to use that either. I'll probably sterilize it, but, and don't do the, you know, old cowboy stuff. I'll just pour some whiskey on it. Go right ahead. You better hope that it's not a big person that you do that to. So you need to have a variety of equipment of things. Do you know how to close a wound? Do you know what to use? What would you use to close a wound?
Depends.
Sutures? Is that what somebody said? Go sew them up? Because that's what you're led to believe, right? And you're led to believe you've got to have special skills to do that. Use all this stuff, you've got to have, even wound care, special skills from modern medical society. Sorry if there's any doctors or nurses out like, I may say something here that may piss you off, and I'm sorry, but it's skill and knowledge, folks. It's not rocket science. Yes, I've gone to school a long, long time for a lot of different things, and years of training. There is some specialized to it, but overall, to take care of things like that, it's skill and knowledge that can be passed on to you. It is not rocket science. A lot of it's common sense. Is there anybody here that was in my class yesterday? Anybody? See anybody? They'll tell you. I heard it from all of them. This is not that hard. Oh, I thought it would be harder. I thought you had to have more. Oh, this is pretty easy. It's just showing you how to do something. Just because it's new, don't be intimidated. I can show you in 3 minutes how to use a skin stapler properly. That's the easiest thing I want to teach you about wound closure. The most important things, the things you do before that. Evaluating that wound. Do I close that wound? Can that wound be closed? Do I do a delayed closure? Oh, what's that? Yeah, we wait, we delay the closure up to 3 days. Do I not close it at all? And I'm going to let it heal from inside out, and I'm going to pack it once a day, maybe even twice a day, with wet to dry dressings, and I'm going to clean, I'm going to debride that wound. Debride it, what does that mean? You're going to cut dead flesh off of it. I'm not a surgeon, it's easy. But you have to learn how to evaluate that flesh, what's good, what's bad, what can stay, what can't. It's skill and knowledge that can be passed on, because if you take my class, when I show it to you, you're going to go, well, oh, that makes sense. It is. A lot of it is common sense. You just haven't been passed on that knowledge of it. And it's just showing you the skill on how to use the instruments to do so. So have those things ready. So we'll go back to the sutures. Everybody, you sew somebody up, right? I can show you, suturing's an art. Anybody know how many different sutures there are? Style of sutures. Do a writing suture. There's so many different ones. It's an art form in itself. You know, 95% of the things sutures are used for, you can use a skin stapler for. Do you know why sutures are used for? 2 reasons. They can charge more for it. You know why? It takes longer. It takes more materials. It's considered a sterile procedure. So is this, but if you've ever been sutured, you've ever had staples put in, you will notice that having the staples put in, if you get an itemized bill, are cheaper because it doesn't take as much time. Second of all, it's cosmetic. Oh, I don't want a scar. Oh, I don't want a scar. You can't use staples in the lower part of the face, in this area. Everywhere else, free game. Well, I don't know, guys, there might be a couple areas we won't. But everything else is free game. And you can use a stapler. And here's the thing. I could take somebody with, let's just say a 4-inch laceration. I could place staples anywhere from a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch apart, depending on the type of wound it is, how wide it is and stuff. There is some evaluation you put in it. And I can have that thing closed in less than 5 minutes. What I'm going to do before is the most important. Because I'm going to evaluate that wound. Number one, with that evaluation and everything I've seen, I've decided I can now close it. It's safe to close that wound. And then I'm going to thoroughly clean that wound inside from the deepest point all the way out to the top dermal layer, the top of the skin. And then I'm going to close it. Again, this will take me a minute to do that laceration. Beforehand, it's going to take me a little bit longer, a lot longer actually. So it's having those skills like that. How many people think of burns? Are you prepared for burns at home? And I mean a real burn. I'm not talking about, I touched a tea kettle that's a little too hot, and I'm going to immediately run it under some water. I'm talking about 2nd, 3rd degree burns. Are you prepared for that? Do you know how to treat that? Do you know that is a wound? And you have to care for that a long time. What about dental emergencies? Have you ever had an infected tooth? I don't care, the biggest, baddest guy here, put an infected tooth on them, they're going to be down for the count. Are you prepared for that? Well, no, we can't do that. Dentists do that. Skill and knowledge. What if there is no access, you don't have access to conventional care for quite some time? Societal collapse, zombie apocalypse, whatever you want to call it. Whatever scenario you want to play. Where's Chris Weatherman, Angry American? He comes up with the best stories, going home. We'll have him give us a scenario. But what if you can't do that? Do you know how to make a cast? Without casting materials? Do you know you probably have most of the materials to do so sitting in your house? Because you could take a SAM splint, which is just, it's got aluminum wire in it, it'll form, it's foldable, it's a pliable splint. I could take that. I can take an ace bandage and some duct tape. I can make you a cast that can stay on 6 weeks. That can heal a fracture. Now I know you're going to say, we didn't have an x-ray. How do you know it's broke? Show you. There's telltale signs. Now, obviously there are some fractures that may require surgical placement. And I can't show you how to do orthopedic surgery, all right? That's beyond, but a lot of the stuff that you have, I can show, and you can do on your own. It's having this equipment that's important and what to buy. There's a lot of stuff, when you go to Walmart, you go, I've got a Walmart first aid kit. Got a 100-piece first aid kit, right? Have you opened it? 99 Band-Aids and a small roll of tape. How far is that going to get you? Go to something and custom build. Again, I'm not trying to do a commercial. I do custom built kits too. It doesn't cost anything extra. It's just what will you put in it. But this kit that I do is all encompassed. Like I said, I don't give you a few 2x2s for it. I give you boxes. There's 100 2x2s in here. I give you all these things that is in this, so you'll have it. So you'll have these things. You'll have the surgical sponges. You actually have the stuff that you clean the wounds with. You have to close the wounds. You have the betadine swabs to clean the wounds. Again, there's many different ways to clean in here. So, well, that's a lot. But I also give you the tools like scalpels, like iris scissors, like hemostats, things like that to do the debridement, the minor surgical procedure. And they are surgical. Because in my class yesterday, they actually learned how to incise, assist. I know you all watch like Pimple Popper and all that stuff. Same thing when they cut it and all the goo comes out. I actually had simulators make that they cut it and goo comes out. But that's not the problem. It's what you do. You've seen it probably watching all the YouTube videos, you sickos. All that stuff that's in there, You see how they clean it out, and then they pack that wound and how to do it, and then they've got to care for that wound. You don't see that part. You just see the stuff that catches your attention. It's all the work that goes into it to do that, but everybody sitting here can learn that. So having it prepared, it's all encompassed. You probably grow food at your house, right? Do you just grow one crop? Unless you're farming, for profit. But if you grow stuff for your own food, do you just grow one vegetable and that's the only thing you're going to eat? No, a variety, right? The same thing for a home kit. It's a variety, and it just doesn't stay at home. What are you out doing every day? When you go work on your property and stuff, do you have that tourniquet with you because you're running the chainsaw? What I tell people is, do you use chaps when you run a chainsaw? About probably half of you don't. You should. They work. There's a YouTube video I can find and show you a class part. It's a chainsaw class I taught. I didn't teach the chainsaw portion, just the medical portion. But we took a pair of chaps and put the chain in it. It works. But if you don't have that, hook that tourniquet on your chaps. Hook it to your saw. Well, you don't forget it. And I know you're saying, well, that means I have to buy more than one. Yeah. Do you just have one bullet for your gun? Do you just have one bottle of water put back? No. One is none, two is one. They're tools, right? I mean, guys, how many number 10 sockets do you have? Number 10 is the one you always lose, is it not? So it's having all these different things for different things. From boo-boos, from the Band-Aids, to, a traumatic injury of a femoral bleed, or a large laceration, or a penetrating chest wound. Are you prepared for all of that? And that's what this is about. You would not be here if you weren't interested in being prepared. Here's the thing. Do you know what medical is? The last thing people think of. Oh, I can get to that. Because it's in your brain. Oh, I've got a doctor. Or EMS is going to come. Fire's going to come. If you think there's a societal collapse, you think those people are going to work. Does anybody remember Hurricane Katrina? Half of the New Orleans police force just quit showing up to work, along with EMS and fire. Do you know how much of New Orleans burnt to the ground? It looked like Iraq and Afghanistan, honestly, with all the fires and stuff that were going on. They're not coming to work. They've got families too. So, the whole point of this is what to get, what not to get, what do you need. I could sit here and go through a list. Come talk to me, I'll go through a list and tell you things, but we could be here for 3 hours. But you need something that's going to cover little stuff, big stuff, bad stuff. And then specialized stuff, burns, dental, things like that. And then here's a whole nother wrinkle to throw in. How many people have kids, younger kids? You have a child, say 5 years or younger, or grandkids, which I do. This won't work on them. This will. Even if this does work on you, can get it tight enough and small enough to put on them. Do you know kids aren't little adults? Their bone structure, their muscles, their nerves are still developing. Yours are developed as an adult. This can cause permanent damage. And I know somebody's going to say, well, life over limb. Yeah, but if you could save something and you're going to put a tourniquet on and you can save that limb, because that's the whole goal, instead of having it chopped off, you can still cause permanent damage and permanent growth damage on it. So wouldn't you want something that's designed for that, that disperses the pressure out, that works just as well on kids? And how many of you have dogs you like? How many have livestock that, I know it may not be the pig, like, oh, if the pig gets hurt, fine, that's dinner. Or chicken or something like that, but how many people have like a dairy cow, milk cow? You've invested a lot of time in that. Or what if it is that young pig that it's not ready for harvest, you don't want to lose it. You've put a lot of time, effort, and money into raising that. All of this stuff that I teach and all of this equipment in here, guess what? It transfers over to livestock and to your dogs. Your cats, your whatever, elephants, whatever you want to use. All this stuff is the same thing to cat, because your livestock is an investment, is it not? Horses? whatever you use, whatever it is, it can be transferable over that. Those skills that you learn, you can. Shelly around here, I know Shelly, one of the people who are putting this on, go talk to her. She's used it more than once on her livestock from the class she's taken. So all of this is to be prepared, because you can have different levels of medical. What you carry on you everyday carry, what you may have in your vehicle, what you may have on your side-by-side or tractor or whatever that you go on, have it everywhere. And then what you have at home to take care of the stuff, because the little stuff, when I carry this medical kit every day, is to get me back to my big stuff. Is to keep me alive after that 5 minutes so I can get to the big stuff and do that. And it's the same thing. It's layers of medical protection. Just like you may have layers of home protection, so it's layers of your medical preparedness and protection at home. So the things that you need to be prepared for of all different things. Half hour isn't enough time to do it. To tell you, go through lists. But if you want a list, contact me. I'll tell you minimum stuff what you have, but why would you want minimum? I can tell you my kit costs $350. And it comes with the splint kit, burn kit, full guide trauma kit, all that stuff. But it has all the stuff that you can take care of for stuff. It's everything. Go piece it out. Go on somebody else's websites. I'll give you some. It's going to cost you more to piece it all out together. It's going to cost you more to piece it all out if you come to my table. And I know you think, well, that's a lot of money. Is it? What's one ER visit that if you had to go for, just say two stitches in your arm? How much is that going to, just your deductible if you have insurance, how much is that going to cost you? I don't know, is Shelly around? Shelly will tell you, I think she said yesterday she saved herself just from taking a class of trauma, 4 different trips to the ER because she knew what to do and what to look for. So just think of it that way. It's also a savings and it's an investment in your safety, your life, your loved one's life, of what to have. Because it's not one thing or one little thing or what's the bare minimum. There is not a bare minimum. Because I can promise you one thing, you don't have enough gauze. If society collapses, you can't get it. You don't. Buy it by the cases, because one wound that you have to take care of for 3 months. I had an open wound on my leg. I spent 5.5 months in the hospital, 3.5 months in the ICU. I had an open wound almost the full circumference of my right leg. It was open for 7 months. God knows how much supplies I went through, gauze alone. Cases of it, because it was packed every day, clean, wet to dry dressings, and debrided about 3 times a week. That's a very, very real scenario that you can go through. You think you have enough for that? That's one wound. All right. Any questions? Answer them if you don't want to. You're shy, don't want to talk in front of everybody. Come talk to me. Go ahead.
As far as the tourniquets go, you were mentioning the difference between an adult and a child. 82-year-old, very frail, elderly woman, would that be the child tourniquet or the child?
Very good question. Elderly, frail. Here's the other thing. What if they're on blood thinners? Stuff like that. You could actually cause internal bleeding by using a tourniquet. I would use, on what you're telling me, 82, very frail, probably very small stature, I would use this on, because it's going to be easier to stop the bleeding. On a small child, like a 2-year-old, my grandson who's 1.5, I could probably stop the bleeding by just squeezing his arm, but I could cause permanent tissue damage. I want to disperse that force out. Same thing for the elderly. How many of you have elderly parents, grandparents, whatever the case may be that you can take care of? So are you planning for that, the different ages, the different things that goes through? That's why training is so important. So you'll know and have the knowledge of what to get. And a good instructor will tell you what stuff to get and not to get. There's a lot of people who sell stuff out there right now. It's junk. It's pre-made stuff. I pack every single one of my kits from components. I don't buy pre-made kits. And everything that I sell, I've used. Because I'm not going to be hypocritical and sell something I don't know how it performs. I've put these on people, for real, many a times. I've used every bit of equipment that I sell. many a times because I know it works. Any other questions? Jason's telling me I gotta stop. Good.